A group of children had just heard the story of the birth of Jesus, the lesson in godly play that we call the Holy Family. Now, after a story in godly play, the group discusses that story through a series of wondering questions. And the last of these questions usually is, I wonder what we could leave out of this story and still have everything we need. Originally, this was a research question to hone the scripts being written for the stories, but it generated so much good theological discussion with children during those research sessions that it became a regular part of the curriculum. So we can picture this scene, right? A circle of children sitting on the floor with an adult storyteller, and in front of the storyteller are all the figures from the story. They've built a nativity scene in the middle of the circle with the Magi and the shepherds and the animals and Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus. And in wondering what they could leave out of this story, one child said, you could leave out the baby. Well, probably this was a silly answer meant to generate a big response, and of course it worked. The adult removed the baby from the scene, as suggested. And then there was a dramatic chorus from all the other children of, no, no, we have to have the baby. That's the most important part. Put it back. So the storyteller put the baby back in the manger. But then another child said, quite seriously, but you could take the baby out. And the storyteller could tell this child had something to say. So he removed the baby once again from the scene and asked, do we still have everything that we need? And the child said, yes. Because when the baby is there, everyone is looking down at the baby. But if you take the baby away, then everyone will look up and they will see each other. And since we all have the light of Christ within us, Jesus will still be there. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Well, in our translation, the word became flesh and lived among us. I grew up with the other word, so the Word became flesh and lived among us. And the word that is translated live in this verse can also be translated as to pitch a tent or to tabernacle. When the Hebrew people were wandering through the desert, after the exodus from Egypt, they made a large tent with a special place to keep the Ark of the Covenant with the tablets of the Ten Commandments. This was their tabernacle, the place where God resided with them. This was how God traveled with them. So this verse could read, the Word became flesh and tabernacled among us, resided among us, not just in the tent, but among us. Now God not only goes where God's people go, but God is who they are. God enfleshed, come to reside among us, among all of us, out in the world. And that word is also often translated as dwelt. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. That's a more familiar translation to many of us, obviously me. The word dwell has a feeling of intention and longevity to it, a sense of abiding. It also carries that meaning of protracted attention. God made flesh in the person of Jesus to dwell with us, to be one of us, and to experience what it is to be human. To draw closer to us so that we can draw closer to God, so close that God is dwelling within us. And that verse again, the Word became flesh and lived among us. What does this use of the word mean? The Greek word is logos, and it has a variety of meanings, though they all point to the same concept. Logos means word, but not just a word. It can mean an expression of a thought, or communication, or the embodiment of an idea. In Brendan's lovely sermon on Christmas Day, he talked about logos as a story, or a narrative, or an affirmation. So logos is a noun, but it is an active word. There's the suggestion of something happening. And we hear this in the beginning of today's gospel. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. All things came into being through him. Without him, not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life. And the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. This is big, right? We're reminded of creation, of the cosmos, of the entirety of existence. But then a few verses later, the Word becomes personal. The Word becomes flesh and dwells among us. And we see his glory, full of grace and truth. Early Christian monastics, the desert mothers and fathers, sometimes referred to logos as the song of the world. And they listened for the logos, the word, the song, through silence. Actually, they listened to the silence, as contemplatives still do to this day. Listen to the silence, not for words, but to hear the word, the logos, the song of the divine that is beyond language and image. Our 12th century mystic Hildegard of Bingen listened. She wrote, "For traces of the primordial voice, the animating principle, everywhere present in the world and present to the one sensitive enough to notice it and take it in." So this song is both cosmic and intimate. The word of the beginning of all things, and the word of an enfleshed baby. And because the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, God knows what it is to be human. God's song, if you will, is a song of love, a song of creative power, a song of mercy, justice, inclusion, redemption, and peace. And our human songs are also songs of love, sometimes. And our songs are sometimes songs of sorrow, of pain, of despair, along with songs of joy and hope and passion. We have songs of creative purpose and tired resignation, songs of faith and of longing and of community. And because God came to us as a baby, because Jesus dwelt among us, God knows our songs. No matter what your song is today, God knows that song. God holds our song in God's heart and adds the song of love. And the Word became flesh and lived among us. And we have seen his glory full of grace and truth. From his fullness, we have all received grace upon grace. May the grace of God and God's song of love sing in your heart today. Amen.